Life in Turkey, $600 budget, beautiful women and a country. Split by sex and religion. What if I told you there's a country where you can live comfortably for just $600 a month with some of the most beautiful women in the world and a culture torn between ancient traditions and modern influences? Imagine a place where you can live a full life for a fraction of what you'd pay in cities like New York or London. And yet, you're surrounded by stunning landscapes, vibrant culture, and history at every corner. A place where East meets West in a way you won't find anywhere else. In this documentary, we'll take you through Turkey, a country where contradictions are the norm, where religion, politics, and gender roles often clash, but at the same time, this tension creates a fascinating and beautiful experience for anyone who visits. You'll see how Turkey manages to balance its deep-rooted traditions with the fast-paced modern world. But here's the kicker. It's also a place where you'll get a glimpse into how one country can split itself apart yet remain united in ways that will leave you in awe. So, buckle up, because what you're about to learn might just surprise you. Get ready for a trip where the cost of living is as low as the sky is high, and where beauty, culture, and struggle come together in a way you won't forget. This is Turkey, and it's waiting for you to discover its secrets. Turkey. It's a land of extremes, where ancient mosques stand tall on one side, while modern shopping malls shine brightly on the other. It's a country that mixes the old with the new, blending centuries of history with the fast-paced lifestyle of today. But what makes Turkey even more incredible is how affordable it is to live here. Can you imagine living in a place with such incredible beauty, history, and culture for just $600 a month? Sounds unbelievable, right? But that's exactly what Turkey offers. Yes, you can rent a decent apartment, eat out almost every day, and experience all the beauty of this country without breaking the bank. How is this possible? Let me explain how Turkey makes this lifestyle so affordable. First, let's talk about the cost of living. In most Western countries, $600 won't get you very far. But here in Turkey, it's enough to cover your basic needs comfortably. Rent is affordable. In cities like Istanbul and Ankara, you can find an apartment in a great neighborhood for a fraction of what you'd pay in places like London or New York. Food is also very cheap, and if you love eating out, you'll be in for a treat. Turkish food is delicious and inexpensive. A hearty meal at a local restaurant could cost you less than $10, and if you're into street food, even less. But it's not just about the money. Turkey is a place that has a deep cultural divide. While some parts of the country embrace modernity, others hold on tightly to tradition. This divide touches almost every aspect of life here, from politics and religion to gender roles and personal freedoms. Turkey is a country caught between the East and the West. It's a place where modern values clash with ancient traditions, and yet somehow it works. The country's unique position makes it a fascinating place to visit, and one that will challenge your perceptions in the best way possible. So, get comfortable, because what you're about to learn will change the way you think about this incredible country. Turkey is full of contradictions, beauty, and surprises, and I'm going to take you on a journey to uncover all of them. Stay tuned, because what we'll discover here might just surprise you. The $600 budget. How is it possible? Living in Turkey on a $600 budget may sound like a dream, but it's a reality for many people here, and it is one of the main reasons this country has become a popular destination for expats and travelers. Turkey offers an affordable lifestyle even in major cities like Istanbul and Ankara, where rent, food, and utilities cost far less than in many Western countries. So, how does this work? Let's break down exactly how you can live in Turkey without spending a fortune. When it comes to rent, the difference is immediately noticeable. In Istanbul, one of the most popular cities in Turkey, you can find a centrally located apartment for as low as $250 to $300 per month. Compare that to cities like London or New York, where you might pay over $2,000 for something similar. This is one of the biggest surprises for people moving to Turkey, as it allows you to live in a prime location without breaking the bank. I rented a cozy one-bedroom apartment for $200 in a beautiful neighborhood, just 10 minutes from the city center. It was a vibrant area with easy access to cafes, shops, and the breathtaking Bosphorus. Not once did I feel like I was living in a cheap or unsafe area. It was a true local experience, and I was paying a fraction of what I would pay in other major cities. When it comes to food, Turkey has an abundance of affordable options that allow you to eat out every day without worrying about your budget. A decent meal at a local restaurant can cost you around $5, and for under $10, you can enjoy a hearty meal in a nice place. Street food is a huge part of Turkish culture, and it's incredibly affordable. You'll often see locals grabbing quick snacks like simiti, a sesame-encrusted bread, or doner kebabs for just a couple of dollars. If you love fresh, flavorful food, Turkey will not disappoint. Utilities, including water, gas, electricity, and internet, are also much cheaper than what you typically find in Western countries. On average, these bills don't exceed $50 a month, even for larger apartments. Back home, you could easily pay double or even triple that amount for similar services. This low cost of utilities allows you to stretch your budget even further. Transportation in Turkey is another area where costs are incredibly low. In cities like Istanbul, a monthly metro pass will only set you back around $15. The public transport system is extensive and affordable, making it easy to get around the city without a car. Even taxis are quite cheap compared to Western countries. What's more, Turkey has a huge food delivery culture, and it's still cheaper than cooking at home in many cases. You can have food delivered to your door for a few dollars, and the variety of options is endless, from traditional Turkish dishes to international favorites. However, even though the cost of living is affordable for tourists and expats, many locals still struggle financially due to lower salaries. The average income in Turkey is much lower than in many Western countries, and while living costs are cheap, wages don't always reflect this. This is a good reminder that while tourists can enjoy the lower prices, the affordability of Turkey doesn't necessarily translate to a better life for the local population. Despite these struggles, though, tourists are in for a treat. With a $600 budget, you can experience all that Turkey has to offer, from stunning landscapes to delicious food, without worrying about running out of money. It's the perfect balance for travelers looking to explore a beautiful and affordable country. Beauty in Turkey: women, culture, and identity. One of the first things you will notice when you in Turkey is the stunning beauty of its women. Turkish women are often hailed as some of the most beautiful in the world. What makes them so captivating isn't just their physical appearance, although they come in all shapes and sizes, each radiating their own unique beauty. It's the confidence, intelligence, and charm that really make them stand out. Whether it's a woman you meet in the bustling streets of Istanbul or a quiet village, their poise and self-assurance are undeniable. And it's not just the looks. It's the way they carry themselves, their charisma, and their strength. Turkish women have a unique blend of beauty that draws from both European and Middle Eastern influences. With their mixture of cultures, they embody a fusion of Western and Eastern beauty standards. In a way, they represent the perfect balance between two worlds. You'll see this combination in their style, in the way they dress, and in their graceful demeanor. From modern fashion trends in Istanbul to the traditional styles found in the countryside, Turkish women hold on to a strong sense of identity, which is reflected in their appearance. Their beauty isn't just skin deep. It's a reflection of their rich, diverse culture. However, Turkey's society is not as simple as it might appear on the surface. While big cities like Istanbul are home to modern cafes, independent women, and liberal attitudes, many parts of Turkey still hold on to more traditional values. The roles of women are deeply influenced by these traditional expectations, and there's often a clash between modernity and the more conservative outlook found in rural areas. This divide can be a challenge for women trying to find their place in a rapidly changing society. In the cities, women are often free to pursue careers, go to school, and express themselves in ways that their rural counterparts may not be able to. In rural Turkey, women may still be expected to follow more traditional roles, like marriage and family life, while the urban areas offer more opportunities for women to break away from these norms. I had the opportunity to meet a woman who moved from a rural village to Istanbul in search of work. Her story was inspiring. She grew up in a family where traditional gender roles were expected, but she chose to carve out her own career path in the city. The bravery it took for her to break free from her family's expectations was remarkable. She told me how much her move to Istanbul had changed her life and opened her eyes to a world where she could pursue her dreams, not just follow the path set for her. Her story is just one example of the many women who are redefining what it means to be a woman in Turkey today. Religion plays a huge role in shaping the lives of many women in Turkey. As a Muslim-majority country, the influence of religion is deeply embedded in the culture. However, this influence varies greatly depending on where a woman lives and her personal beliefs. In more conservative areas, many women choose to wear headscarves as a sign of adherence to religious customs. For others, religion is something they express in private, and they reject the idea of religious submission in favor of personal freedom. There's a strong clash between secularism and religious conservatism in Turkey, and this division can make it hard for some women to navigate their identity. I spoke to one woman who had grown up in a very strict religious household. She explained how her upbringing had made her question everything, especially when it came to gender roles and personal freedoms. But when she moved to Istanbul, things changed. She found herself in a place where she could express her faith on her own terms, no longer confined by the expectations of her family or community. She was able to make decisions about her appearance, her faith, and her life in a way that was true to herself. For her, moving to Istanbul represented a kind of freedom she never thought possible in her small town. Women in Turkey are at the forefront of this ongoing battle between tradition and change. They're shaping their identities in a world that's evolving at an incredibly fast pace. As the country continues to modernize, these women are forging new paths for themselves, navigating the complex intersection of culture, religion, and personal freedom. The beauty of Turkish women is more than just their appearance. It is in the strength and resilience they show every day as they live in a society that is constantly changing around them. The split nation. Religion versus secularism. Turkey is a nation that finds itself torn between two very different worlds: secularism and Islamic influence. The roots of this divide go back to the founding of modern Turkey under Mustafa Kemal Atatürk in the 1920s. Atatürk's vision for the country was to establish a secular state, one where religion and politics would be kept separate. He believed that for Turkey to modernize and align itself with the West, it needed to break away from the religious influences that had defined the Ottoman Empire for centuries. This vision of secularism, however, has been met with resistance over the years. There has been an ongoing tug-of-war between secularists, who want to keep religion out of the public sphere, and those who believe that Islam should play a more prominent role in public life. This conflict has shaped not only the political landscape, but also the everyday life of Turkish people. Experts often point out that Turkey's political landscape is deeply divided along secular and religious lines. While Atatürk's reforms were meant to create a secular society, the rise of Islamic political movements in the past few decades has challenged that vision. Today, there are two factions in Turkey: the secularists, who value a separation between religion and politics, and the Islamists, who advocate for a stronger role for Islam in government and society. This tension has created a situation where both sides are constantly vying for influence, and it impacts every aspect of life, from politics to personal freedoms. This divide is particularly visible when you compare urban and rural Turkey. In major cities like Istanbul and Ankara, secularism dominates. These cities are filled with vibrant nightlife, diverse cultural scenes, and a sense of freedom of expression. In these urban areas, people are free to practice their religion as they wish, but they are also free to choose not to practice it at all. The atmosphere is open, progressive, and dynamic, attracting people from all over the world. It's a place where you can see people dressed in modern clothing, drinking alcohol at bars, and engaging in lively political discussions. This is the face of secular Turkey, where modern values reign. However, when you leave the big cities and head into rural areas, the culture shifts dramatically. In these more conservative regions, religion still plays a central role in daily life. People tend to follow traditional customs more closely, and Islamic practices are often more visible in public spaces. For example, you'll see more women wearing headscarves and men adhering to more conservative dress codes. There's also a greater emphasis on family values and traditional gender roles. This rural Turkey is very different from the urban, secular Turkey, and it reflects the ongoing cultural divide in the country. The conflict between the old and the new is one of the most fascinating aspects of life in Turkey. It's a country that is stuck between its Ottoman past, with its deep religious roots, and its desire to be a part of the modern European world. This clash can be seen in the everyday lives of Turkish people. For example, some people in rural areas still live by values that have been passed down through generations, while those in urban centers embrace globalized, modern ideas. This tension is evident in politics, culture, and even in the way people dress and behave. It's a constant push and pull between two worlds, and it creates a unique dynamic that can sometimes feel like Turkey is caught between the past and the future. Women, in particular, find themselves at the heart of this debate. In secular cities, women have the freedom to dress as they please, pursue careers, and engage in social activities without restrictions. Istanbul, for example, is a city where women can be seen wearing everything from fashionable clothes to traditional headscarves. Women here are empowered to live their lives according to their personal choices. In contrast, in more conservative regions, the role of women is shaped by a stricter interpretation of religion. In these areas, women's freedom can be limited, especially in terms of dress and public behavior. The differences between these two worlds highlight the challenges women face in Turkey as they navigate between the modern, secular society and the traditional, religious expectations placed on them. This division also shows up in how people approach issues like alcohol consumption, dress codes, and public behavior. In secular cities, you'll see bars and cafes serving alcohol, and people enjoying a drink while socializing. But in rural Turkey, alcohol consumption is often frowned upon, and social gatherings tend to be more family-oriented and conservative. Similarly, in Istanbul, it's common to see people dressed in the latest fashion trends, while in more traditional towns, people follow stricter dress codes that adhere to religious guidelines. These differences illustrate the constant push and pull between two different worlds, one that embraces modernity and freedom, and the other that holds on to tradition and religious values. Ultimately, this ongoing cultural divide is what makes Turkey such a complex and fascinating country. It's a place where religion and secularism constantly collide, and where people are trying to reconcile their past with their future. The tension between these two worlds shapes the country's politics, culture, and everyday life. It's a struggle that's been ongoing for decades, and it will likely continue to define Turkey for years to come. But despite these challenges, Turkey remains a unique blend of old and new, where East meets West in ways that no other country can replicate. Living in Istanbul, the heart of Turkey. Istanbul is a city like no other. It's the only city in the world that straddles two continents, Europe and Asia. Imagine waking up in one part of the city in Europe, and then, in just a short ferry ride, being in the Asian side of Istanbul. This city offers a truly unique experience, where the past and present meet in an exciting and electric mix. You'll find yourself walking down streets lined with centuries-old architecture, while at the same time, there are modern shops, restaurants, and buildings everywhere. Istanbul is a place where history, culture, and modern life come together in a way that you can't find anywhere else. Istanbul's rich history is one of its defining features. From the majestic Hagia Sophia to the stunning Blue Mosque, the city is home to some of the most iconic landmarks in the world. These historical sites stand proudly amidst the hustle and bustle of the modern city, reminding us of Istanbul's glorious past as the center of the Byzantine and Ottoman empires. But Istanbul isn't just about the ancient. It's also a city full of contradictions. It's a place where the old meets the new, where Europe and Asia collide, and where religion and secularism coexist. This combination of history, culture, and modern influences is what makes Istanbul so fascinating. It's a city that embraces its past while also looking towards the future. When it comes to the cost of living in Istanbul, it's a lot more affordable than you might think. Although Istanbul is Turkey's largest city, it still offers a much lower cost of living compared to major cities like London, Paris, or New York. You can find apartments, food, and transportation that are all relatively cheap when you compare them to Western cities. That being said, rent prices can vary depending on the area. If you're living in the city center, near popular neighborhoods like Taksim or Sultanahmet, rent prices will be higher. However, if you move to other areas, like the outskirts of the city, you can find much cheaper options. For example, rent in the city center could be as low as $300 for a one-bedroom apartment, but in other parts of the city, it might drop to $200 or even less. Compared to the sky-high prices in places like New York or Paris, Istanbul is still an affordable option for both locals and expats. Food is another area where Istanbul stands out in terms of affordability. Eating out is very cheap, and you can get a delicious meal for just a few dollars. Street food is a big part of Istanbul's food culture. You can find vendors selling tasty treats like simit, a sesame-covered bread, or doner kebabs for just a couple of dollars. For a sit-down meal at a restaurant, you'll pay around $5 to $10 for a main dish. This is much cheaper than you would pay for a similar meal in many European or American cities. Istanbul is a food lover's paradise, and it's easy to find something to suit your tastes, no matter your budget. Transportation in Istanbul is incredibly affordable as well. The city has an extensive public transportation system, including buses, trams, ferries, and metro lines, which makes getting around very easy and cheap. A one-way ticket on public transport costs only about $0.50, and if you buy a monthly pass, you can save even more. It's an affordable and convenient way to travel around the city, especially when you consider how large and spread out Istanbul is. Additionally, taxis are inexpensive compared to Western cities, so it's easy to get around without spending a lot of money. When you're in Istanbul, there are so many places you simply can't miss. The Grand Bazaar is one of the largest and oldest covered markets in the world. It's a place full of energy, where you can shop for everything from spices and textiles to jewelry and souvenirs. The bazaar is an exciting place to get lost in, and it truly embodies the spirit of Istanbul. Vibrant, busy, and full of life. You'll hear the sounds of merchants calling out to customers, the smell of spices in the air, and the chatter of people from all over the world. The Grand Bazaar is a must-visit for anyone coming to Istanbul, and it is the perfect place to experience the city's unique blend of old and new. Another place you can't miss in Istanbul is the Bosphorus Strait. The Bosphorus is the waterway that separates the European and Asian sides of Istanbul, and it offers some of the most beautiful views in the city. You can take a ferry ride along the Bosphorus and admire the stunning scenery as you float between two continents. The view of Istanbul's skyline from the water is unforgettable, with its mix of modern buildings and historic landmarks like the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque. It's a peaceful and scenic way to experience the city from a different perspective. Istanbul is a city full of surprises, and there's always something new to discover. Whether you're wandering through the narrow streets of the old town, relaxing in one of the city's many parks, or enjoying the view from a rooftop cafe, There's never a dull moment in Istanbul. It's a place where the past and the present coexist, where different cultures come together, and where you can enjoy life on a budget without sacrificing quality or excitement. So, if you're planning to visit Turkey, make sure Istanbul is at the top of your list. It's a city that will leave you with lasting memories, no matter how long you stay. Turkey's food culture. A culinary adventure. If you think Turkish food is just about kebabs, think again. Turkish cuisine is far more diverse and exciting than that. While doner kebabs are certainly popular, Turkey's food culture offers a wide range of delicious dishes that reflect the country and its rich history and mix of influences. From savory pastries to sweet desserts, there's something for everyone. What makes Turkish food even better is that it's surprisingly affordable. You don't need to spend a lot to enjoy some of the best food in the world. One of my most memorable food experiences in Turkey was trying lahmacun, often referred to as Turkish pizza. Lahmacun is a thin, crispy flatbread topped with minced meat, onions, tomatoes, and spices, then baked to perfection. It's usually served with a side of fresh herbs and a squeeze of lemon juice, adding even more flavor. The twist on the traditional pizza is that it's loaded with bold spices, giving it a unique taste you won't find anywhere else. I had it from a street vendor in Istanbul for less than $3. The moment I took the first bite, I was hooked. It was spicy, savory, and satisfying. A perfect example of Turkey's ability to turn simple ingredients into something extraordinary. In Turkey, food plays an essential role in daily life. Breakfast is one of the most important meals of the day, and it's often enjoyed with family. Turkish breakfasts are hearty and include a variety of dishes. A typical spread might include fresh bread, olives, tomatoes, cucumbers, eggs, honey, jam, and a selection of cheeses. But the real star of the breakfast table is Turkish tea, served in small glasses, and often poured throughout the morning as part of conversation and connection. You'll find that Turkish breakfasts are a great way to start your day, whether you're in the city or the countryside. It's a leisurely meal, one that brings people together and gives them a chance to relax and enjoy the start of the day. When you're in Istanbul, street food is an absolute must-try. The city is brimming with small food vendors selling tasty treats at every corner. One of the most iconic street foods in Istanbul is simit, a sesame-encrusted bagel-like bread. It is often enjoyed with a cup of tea and is perfect for a quick snack while exploring the city. Another popular snack is börek, which are savory pastries filled with cheese, minced meat, or spinach. These flaky treats are great for breakfast or lunch and can be found all over the city. What's amazing about Turkish street food is how cheap and delicious it is, making it a favorite choice for locals and tourists alike. Whether you're walking along the Bosphorus or through the narrow streets of Istanbul, you'll always find something tasty to grab on the go. Turkey's food culture goes far beyond everyday meals. Food is deeply woven into social and cultural traditions. When it comes to family gatherings or special occasions, food takes center stage. Meals are meant to be shared, enjoyed, and celebrated. It's not just about eating, it's about the joy of coming together. During holidays or festivals, Turkish families gather for big feasts, where everyone plays a part in preparing the meal. The celebration of food is about building relationships, connecting with loved ones, and showing respect for the traditions passed down through generations. In fact, food is so central to Turkish culture that it is often used as a way to express hospitality. If you're invited to a Turkish home, you'll likely be treated to an elaborate spread of homemade dishes. It's common for hosts to offer you more food than you could possibly eat, as it's a way to show generosity and respect. It's not uncommon to be encouraged to eat more, as guests are always seen as a blessing in Turkish homes. And, of course, no meal is complete without sharing stories, laughter, and tea. One of the most significant culinary traditions in Turkey is the art of making Turkish Delight, or lokum. This sweet treat, made from sugar, starch, and flavorings like rosewater or lemon, is a beloved dessert in Turkey. It's often served as a sign of hospitality or during special occasions. Turkish Delight has been enjoyed for centuries and is a symbol of the country's long history of sweetness and indulgence. Another beloved food tradition is the preparation of meze, which are small dishes served as appetizers. Meze can include a wide range of flavors and ingredients, from creamy hummus and baba ganoush to fresh olives and cheese. Meze is often shared with friends and family, and it's a great way to sample different flavors and dishes all at once. Whether enjoyed as a starter or as a meal on its own, meze is all about enjoying food slowly, savoring each bite, and sharing the experience with others. In Turkey, food is much more than just a way to fill your stomach. It's a way of life. It's about celebrating traditions, building relationships, and connecting with others. The pride that Turkish people take in their cuisine is reflected in the time and care they put into preparing each dish. Whether it's a simple breakfast or a grand feast, food in Turkey brings people together in a way that is unmatched. It's a central part of the culture, and for anyone visiting the country, it's a journey worth taking. Politics, religion, and the Turkish identity. In recent years, Turkey has experienced a shift towards more conservative politics, which has sparked much debate among its citizens. This shift, especially under the leadership of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, has been a point of controversy, particularly for younger generations who value the secular traditions that have been in place since the founding of modern Turkey. Ataturk, the founder of the Republic of Turkey, strongly emphasized secularism, separating religion from politics. But with the rise of Erdogan's party, there has been a noticeable change, and more Islamic values are being brought into the political sphere. For many Turks, especially those who remember the secular principles of the past, this shift feels like a step backward. Younger people, in particular, are concerned that the country is moving away from the secular values they grew up with. Political analysts have pointed out that Erdogan's influence has brought a more Islamized approach to governance. This has sparked debates about freedom of expression, individual rights, and whether the secular foundations of the country are at risk. Critics of the government argue that the rise of religiously influenced politics threatens the freedoms that many people value, such as freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and freedom of religion. On the other hand, supporters of Erdogan and his party believe that embracing Islam more openly in politics strengthens the country's identity and brings people back to their cultural roots. This ongoing debate continues to divide the nation, and it has become a key issue in shaping Turkey's future. Religion, especially Islam, plays an undeniable role in Turkey's cultural and political identity. While the country is officially secular, it is also deeply influenced by its Islamic heritage. Islam is the dominant religion in Turkey, and its traditions and values are ingrained in the culture. However, the extent to which Islam should influence politics and daily life is a question that divides the nation. In some parts of Turkey, especially the more conservative regions, religion plays a central role in daily life. People in these areas tend to follow Islamic customs closely, from daily prayers to fasting during Ramadan. But in larger cities like Istanbul and Ankara, where secularism is more prevalent, people tend to separate religion from politics and daily activities more than in rural areas. This creates a clear divide between the more religious, conservative parts of the country and the more secular, progressive areas. This divide has led to what some people describe as an identity crisis in Turkey. The country has struggled to balance its Islamic roots with its desire to be a part of the modern, secular world is evident in its politics, its gender roles, and its relationship with the West. On one hand, Turkey is proud of its Islamic heritage and its role as the leader of the Muslim world. On the other hand, many Turks want to align with the West and modernize the country, which often means embracing secular values and distancing themselves from strict religious rules. This tension is especially visible in Turkey's political landscape, where secularists and Islamists often clash over the role of religion in governance. The question of secularism versus religion also extends to gender roles in Turkey. In more secular areas, women have more freedom to dress as they choose, pursue careers, and express themselves in public. However, in more conservative regions, women are often expected to follow traditional gender roles and dress modestly. This divide between secular and religious attitudes toward gender is another reflection of Turkey's ongoing identity crisis. The country is struggling to reconcile these different views, which is challenging for many people trying to navigate their place in society. Turkey's relationship with the West also adds to this crisis of identity. On one hand, Turkey has long been a member of NATO and has sought to join the European Union, which are both seen as symbols of Western values. On the other hand, many people in Turkey feel a deep connection to their Islamic roots and see Western influence as a threat to their culture and traditions. This creates a constant tension between wanting to be a part of the global modern world while also staying true to their Islamic identity. Despite these struggles, the people of Turkey continue to find ways to make peace with their divided identity. Many Turks are learning to navigate between their Islamic heritage and the secular values that are part of their country's modern identity. For example, while some people may choose to practice Islam openly, others may embrace secularism while still respecting their cultural traditions. Turkey, see unique position as a country that bridges two worlds, East and West, forces its people to constantly balance these competing influences. It's not always easy, but it's a part of what makes Turkey so complex and fascinating. Turkey's identity crisis is not something that will be solved overnight. The country is in the midst of a cultural and political transformation, and it will take time to find a balance that works for everyone. But the people of Turkey continue to navigate these challenges with resilience and creativity. They are constantly finding new ways to blend their rich Islamic heritage with their desire to be part of the modern world. While the divide between secularism and religion, old and new, continues to shape Turkey's future, one thing is clear: the country is evolving, and its people are at the forefront of this change. Religion and gender equality. The debate. In Turkey, the role of women is shaped by a mix of religion, tradition, and culture. It is a delicate balance between the values passed down through generations and the desire for modern freedoms. In many areas of Turkey, especially in rural or more conservative regions, women's roles are strongly defined by traditional expectations, which often include focusing on family duties and adhering to specific gender roles. For many women, this means staying at home, raising children, and following strict social guidelines. While some women in Turkey accept these traditions and find comfort in them, others are pushing for more freedom to explore different roles, both in their personal and professional lives. This push for greater gender equality has sparked an ongoing debate about how much religion should influence women's lives and how much change is possible in a society that values its traditions. I had the chance to meet one woman in Istanbul who shared her personal struggle with me. She explained how, growing up in a more traditional family, she was taught that a woman's primary responsibility was to her family. But as she grew older and moved to Istanbul, she realized that her career ambitions were just as important as her family duties. She wanted to work, build a career, and contribute to society in a way that went beyond just being a mother or wife. However, she also deeply valued her faith and struggled to find a balance between her religious beliefs and her career goals. She told me about the challenges of dealing with family expectations, societal pressures, and her own internal conflict about what was expected of her as a woman. Her story reflects a common experience for many women in Turkey, where the pressure to adhere to traditional gender roles often conflicts with their personal aspirations. Islamic feminism is a movement that has started to gain momentum in Turkey, as more women are speaking out about their right to express their faith while also pursuing independence. This form of feminism is different from the more Western feminist movements that often focus on gender equality from a secular perspective. Islamic feminism in Turkey is about advocating for women's rights within the framework of Islam, believing that faith and women's independence can go hand in hand. Many women who identify with Islamic feminism believe that Islam does not inherently oppress women, but rather it is cultural practices and interpretations that have held women back. They argue that the religion allows women to be powerful, independent, and equal to men in many areas of life. For example, they believe that women can pursue education, work, and have careers while still maintaining their faith and fulfilling their religious duties. This emerging movement is an important step for many women in Turkey who want to break free from the constraints of traditional roles, but still stay connected to their Islamic identity. It is about finding a way to reconcile the two, rather than choosing one over the other. Islamic feminists in Turkey are working to create space for women to live empowered lives, grounded in their faith, without having to compromise their rights or their beliefs. This movement is growing, especially among younger generations of women, and it's reshaping the conversation about gender roles in Turkey. However, despite the rise of Islamic feminism and the progress that some women have made, there are still significant challenges to women's rights in Turkey. One of the biggest issues women face is the ongoing fight for equality in many areas of life, including dress codes, workplace rights, and public life. Dress codes, for example, have long been a topic of controversy in Turkey. Women who choose to wear headscarves often face discrimination, especially in the workplace or at universities. There's a stark divide between those who believe women should be free to choose their dress, including wearing a headscarf if they want, and those who believe that wearing it is a symbol of submission. The debate over the headscarf is just one example of how religion and politics clash with personal freedoms and women's rights in Turkey. Workplace equality is another area where women continue to face challenges. While more women are entering the workforce than ever before, they still face significant barriers to career advancement. Women in Turkey often encounter a gender pay gap, with men being paid more for the same work. In addition, women are underrepresented in leadership positions, and many women face harassment or discrimination in the workplace. These challenges can make it difficult for women to fully participate in the workforce and achieve the same career opportunities as their male counterparts. Women in Turkey also continue to fight for greater representation and rights in politics and public life. While women have made strides in some areas, such as gaining the right to vote and run for office, they are still not fully represented in political leadership. This lack of representation makes it harder for women to influence policies that directly affect their lives, from laws about workplace equality to issues related to health and education. Political participation remains a significant hurdle for many women who are still trying to break through the barriers of gender inequality. In addition to these challenges, women in Turkey continue to struggle with issues like domestic violence and the lack of adequate legal protection. While the government has passed laws to protect women from domestic abuse, many women still find it difficult to get the support they need when they face violence. Cultural attitudes often place the blame on the woman, and there's a lack of resources in many areas to help victims escape violent situations. Women in Turkey are fighting an uphill battle for full equality. The country's complex mix of religion, culture, and politics has created an environment where women must constantly navigate competing expectations. On one hand, there are those who want to maintain traditional values, and on the other, there are women demanding more freedom and opportunities. The rise of Islamic feminism has opened up new avenues for women to reconcile their faith with their desire for independence, but there is still much work to be done. While the road to gender equality in Turkey remains long and difficult, the courage and determination of Turkish women continue to push the boundaries of what is possible. They are fighting for the right to live on their own terms, to dress as they choose, to work and pursue their dreams, and to live free from discrimination and violence. The struggle for women's rights in Turkey is far from over, but each day, more women are challenging the status quo and creating a new narrative for the next generation. Turkey's economy and tourism. Turkey's economy has gone through some ups and downs in recent years. There has been a lot of economic volatility, meaning the country's economic situation has not always been stable. The value of the Turkish lira has fluctuated, which has made it harder for locals and businesses to predict the future of the economy. However, despite these challenges, Turkey still remains an affordable place for tourists. The weakening value of the lira means that foreign travelers often get more for their money. Goods, services, and accommodation are still much cheaper than in many European or American cities, which makes it an attractive destination for those looking to travel on a budget. So, while the Turkish economy faces uncertainty, the affordability factor is a major draw for visitors. Despite the ups and downs in the economy, tourism is a huge part of Turkey's economy. The country's rich history, stunning landscapes, and vibrant culture have made it one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world. Millions of tourists flock to Turkey each year, eager to experience its unique blend of Eastern and Western influences. From the ancient ruins of Ephesus to the breathtaking beaches along the Mediterranean coast, Turkey has something to offer every kind of traveler. In Istanbul, visitors can explore historic landmarks like the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, while the fairy tale landscapes of Cappadocia draw those interested in adventure and nature. The beautiful beaches of the Turkish Riviera, with their clear waters and sunny weather, attract sun-seekers from all over the globe. And let's not forget the ancient city of Pamukkale, known for its stunning white thermal pools. These major tourist attractions have long been a big draw for international visitors, and the tourism industry plays an essential role in the country's economy. The revenue generated from tourism helps to support local businesses, provide jobs, and stimulate economic growth in many areas. In cities like Istanbul and Antalya, tourism is vital to the local economy, providing livelihoods for thousands of people working in hotels, restaurants, transportation, and other services related to travel and tourism. However, despite the many advantages of tourism, the industry has faced significant challenges, especially in recent years. One of the biggest obstacles has been economic instability. The fluctuating value of the Turkish lira, high inflation, and political uncertainty have made it more difficult for the tourism industry to thrive as it once did. For instance, when the lira loses value, it can be harder for tourism businesses to maintain their prices and attract international visitors. While tourists may benefit from the cheaper prices, local businesses that rely on tourism sometimes struggle to keep up with rising costs, especially for imported goods and services. Another challenge is the global economic environment. The COVID-19 pandemic, for example, severely impacted tourism worldwide, including in Turkey. With travel restrictions and lockdowns in place, many tourists stayed home, and Turkey's tourism industry saw a sharp decline in visitors. While things are starting to recover, the industry still faces difficulties as the world slowly adjusts to post-pandemic conditions. Smaller businesses in particular, such as local hotels, tour operators, and restaurants, have felt the strain. They often don't have the same financial cushion to survive long periods without customers as larger businesses do. Moreover, the political climate in Turkey has also played a role in shaping the tourism industry's performance. When there are political tensions or security concerns, tourists may feel less inclined to visit. In recent years, Turkey has had to deal with various geopolitical issues that may have affected its image as a safe and stable destination. For instance, conflicts in the Middle East and political instability at home have raised concerns for some international travelers. While many visitors continue to come to Turkey, it is clear that the country's political landscape can influence its tourism sector, especially in terms of attracting tourists from certain regions. Despite these challenges, Turkey's tourism industry is resilient and continues to bounce back. The country's ability to offer affordable and diverse travel experiences is a key factor in its ongoing appeal. For example, even though some larger cities might have experienced a drop in international visitors, the domestic tourism market remains strong, and many regions in Turkey continue to attract travelers. The Turkish government has also been taking steps to promote tourism and revitalize the sector. For example, they focused on developing new tourism markets, improving infrastructure, and increasing efforts to market Turkey as a safe and attractive destination. Moreover, Turkey has begun to diversify its tourism offerings beyond its well-known sites. While places like Istanbul, Cappadocia, and Antalya continue to attract large numbers of visitors, lesser-known destinations are being promoted more heavily. For instance, regions such as the Black Sea coast, with its lush green mountains and quaint villages, are gaining attention as tourists seek out quieter, less crowded destinations. These new emerging destinations are helping to spread tourism across the country, supporting local economies and providing new opportunities for smaller businesses. Additionally, Turkey's cultural and culinary tourism has gained popularity. Many visitors come to Turkey not just for the sights, but to experience the food, traditions, and festivals that make the country unique. Iwan, Turkish cuisine, with its rich flavors and variety, has become a major attraction for food lovers. Cities like Istanbul, Izmir, and Gaziantep are famous for their food culture, offering everything from street food like simit and kebabs to high-end dining experiences that showcase Turkey's culinary heritage. Turkey's economy is facing many challenges, but it remains an affordable and attractive destination for tourists. The combination of its stunning natural beauty, rich history, and welcoming culture makes it a place that continues to draw millions of visitors every year. However, the tourism industry needs to navigate the ongoing economic and political challenges to maintain its growth and ensure that local businesses can continue to benefit from the influx of tourists. While the future of tourism in Turkey may have its uncertainties, the country's unique offerings and its ability to adapt to changing conditions mean that it will continue to be a significant player in the global tourism market. So, what's the verdict on Turkey? After exploring its unique culture, history, and lifestyle, it's clear that Turkey is a country of contrasts. It's a place where you can live affordably, especially on a budget of $600 a month, but at the same time, it's a country where political and religious divides play a major role in shaping its future. Turkey is where tradition meets modernity, where the ancient and the contemporary exist side by side. The culture here is complex, with a strong sense of identity that can be seen in everything from the food to the political debates. Women in Turkey, for example, find themselves navigating the space between faith and freedom as they balance traditional roles with modern aspirations. The divide between secularism and Islamism, the push and pull between East and West, creates a unique environment that is both challenging and exciting. Turkey's ability to blend so many different influences makes it a fascinating place to visit or live. You can walk down the streets of Istanbul and experience a mix of ancient mosques and modern cafes. You can enjoy both a rich religious tradition and the freedom of modern expression. But these divides also create challenges, especially when it comes to politics and gender equality. The tug-of-war between religious conservatism and secularism has created tension within the country, particularly when it comes to issues like women's rights, political freedom, and personal identity. But even with these challenges, the people of Turkey have shown an incredible ability to adapt and evolve, finding ways to navigate between their cultural heritage and their desire to move forward. Living in Turkey is an experience you won't forget. Whether you're drawn to the country for its delicious food, its fascinating history, or its vibrant culture, Turkey offers something for everyone. From the bustling streets of Istanbul to the quiet beauty of the countryside, there's always something new to discover. The food is mouth-watering, the people are warm and welcoming, and the history is everywhere you turn. It's a country that invites you to explore, whether you are walking through ancient ruins or enjoying a cup of Turkish tea with locals in a cafe. And while the country faces challenges, particularly when it comes to balancing tradition with modernity, it remains one of the most dynamic and intriguing places to visit. Turkey's contradictions are what make it so captivating. It's a place where you can experience the past and the present at the same time. You can live cheaply, experience incredible food, and see some of the most iconic landmarks in the world. But you'll also be reminded of the political and social issues that are shaping the country's future. As you explore Turkey, you'll see the effects of its complex history and the ongoing struggle to find a balance between different ways of life. It's not always easy, but it's this very complexity that makes Turkey such an interesting place. So, what do you think? Would you consider moving to Turkey on a $600 budget? How do you feel about the way religion impacts gender roles in the country? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this fascinating country. Drop your comments below and let's discuss. Turkey has so much to offer, and the conversation about its future, its traditions, and its modern challenges is one worth having. What's your take on this unique blend of old and new?